What is going on, everybody? Fluxo here, and welcome to this week's video where I'm going to be sharing my top 5 most helpful building tips in Satisfactory. Just before we get into this one, I just want to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you guys for hitting 10,000 subscribers. I only hope this journey continues and that you guys just keep enjoying the content on a weekly basis. Speaking of which, if you do enjoy this video and find it helpful, then let me know via the likes, the comments, or maybe even help us on our journey to 20,000 subscribers by hitting that subscribe button. That being said, let's get into the video. The row barrier technique is something that I will use on almost every build I do. This helps shave off right angled corners, assisting you in adding shape and character to a build. Okay, so I'm going to start off by showing you how to do this across one foundation, and then we'll show you how to extend that afterwards. So firstly, remove the corner foundation that you want to edge off, and then find yourself a row barrier. You want to center the row barrier on the corner of the foundation. Once the row barrier is centered to the corner of the foundation, use the middle mouse wheel to rotate the barrier 3 ticks clockwise and then place the barrier. Align another barrier to the one that you've just placed and then repeat this same process on the mirroring foundation's corner. The barrier is now placed in each corner. We can simply take our foundation and align that with the barrier's place to give us our perfectly edged corner. Finally, remove the barriers, and now you can see how you've gone from a squared right angle corner to something with shape and character. If you do want to take your edge corner wider, then all you have to do is remove the same amount of foundations from each side and follow the same method. For instance, here you can see that I'm removing 2 foundations from each side, including the additional corner foundation. From there, I'm following the same method as before by centering the row barrier and then rotating that row barrier by 3 ticks clockwise. Again, once you have placed the barriers in the mirroring corners, proceed to align your foundations and bring them together. Once the barriers are deleted, you can see that we have used the exact same method as before, but this time changed the radius of the edge corner itself. The sliding pillar technique is one that I again use in every single build I make. This technique is incredibly useful when it comes to placing buildables in places outside of the game's gridded restrictions. To show you by example, usually when you place a foundation like this, you are extremely restricted to where you place buildables on that foundation itself. As you can see here, when placing a wall, I am restricted to only being able to place that wall on either 4 sides of the foundation itself. One method I use to counteract this is the row barrier. Now this method actually allows you to refine where you want to place your wall, but it still has that gridded restriction. Ultimately, what we want to do is have the option to place the buildable exactly where we want it. And for this, we use the concrete pillars. Once your foundations are removed, temporarily replace them with vertically placed concrete pillars. Now you will see that when you choose your concrete wall and go to place it on the concrete pillar, we have actually replaced that gridded placement with a smooth sliding method that allows us to align our buildable exactly where we need it to be. I personally tend to use this method for multiple alignments. Using this for fences actually allows you to play with the concept of matching the fences up perfectly, or even shorten them by placing the fences perfectly within each other with no restrictions. With modern railings, this method allows you to place those railings slightly within each other to eliminate those rounded edges on the corners. This actually gives you a look like the modern railing is one solid railing and not actually individually placed. Probably the most common reason I use a sliding pillar technique is to align concrete wall edging around builds or on the roads themselves. As you can see here, we have the inside of an edge corner, and when we try and place the concrete wall, we are restricted by the grid around the placed foundation. To align this perfectly, we're going to use the concrete pillars technique. Start by removing the concrete wall and placing a foundation to allow you to place the concrete pillar vertically. Once the pillar is placed, remove the foundation and add another concrete pillar next to the one you just placed. Now the pillars are installed, we can take our concrete wall and use the sliding effect to align the wall perfectly to the foundations behind. When you're happy with the position, place your wall and remove the concrete pillars below. Now you have your top wall pointer, place your match-up wall underneath and remove the initial wall above. Repeat the same process on the inner part of the foundations using the sliding technique to match the wall with the wall pointer that you've just placed. As you can see, you've now perfectly aligned your concrete walls to mirror the foundations behind without any overlap whatsoever. Next up we have Z-fighting, which is arguably the most annoying thing when it comes to building something in Satisfactory. This is where two buildables are fighting for priority, which gives a flickering effect. This technique will allow you to completely remove Z-fighting from your builds. To tackle this problem, we need to ensure that one foundation is raised slightly above the other. We do this by removing the foundation and placing a pillar on top of the foundation behind it. Now that the pillar is placed, remove the second foundation and place another pillar underneath the one that you've just placed. From there, take a road barrier and using the center line of the two pillars, bring the bottom of the barrier to just above the center line and place the barrier down. Now take your foundation and align that to the road barrier that you've just placed. Lastly, remove the pillars and the barrier and place your foundation back into the slot. As you can see, the Z-fighting is completely stopped as we have essentially lifted one foundation very slightly above the other. Next up we have the gridded wall technique. This is something I use in a number of different builds to add character. You may have also seen me use this on waterfalls to give the effect of flowing water through the grid itself. This is a simple technique to do, but I wanted to add this in here as I use this technique on such a regular basis myself. Firstly, we want to take our road barrier and place them horizontally down the center of our foundations. When you have placed your road barriers, take your concrete walls and then by holding Control and pressing left click, you can replace those road barriers with the concrete walls, giving the grid effect we are looking for. This technique is so effective and also so simple to do. I advise you that if you are going to use this quite often, then blueprint it as it will save you a hell of a lot of time in the future. Pillars and beams are a fantastic thing to use in so many scenarios. Now if you are a fan of my work, you'll know that I can't do a tips and tricks video without showing this method. All you want to do with this method is take your painted beam and by using R, change your build method to diagonal. Once you have your build method locked in, start to place the painted beams on a diagonal angle across the pillared wall. Next, you can simply take your concrete pillar, and using the diagonally placed painted beams, you can now place your concrete pillars on that angle to give your straight walls some shape and depth. Just like the gridded wall, this technique is so simple to implement, yet has such a big impact on the build's overall look and character. So there you have it, guys. 5 tips that used in the right way can help you build pretty much anything you want to build in Satisfactory. I hope this video did help you guys in any way to implement into your own styles and your own builds. If you did like the video, show some love via the likes, the comments, or maybe even consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. I'll leave you with some shots of these techniques used in my builds, but as for myself, I'll catch you all in the Discord.